Welcome to Mamamia Out Loud, what women are actually talking about on Wednesday, the 27th of August.
It's a hard day to put the show together, isn't it, Holly Wainwright?
It really is. I am Holly Wainwright.
I'm Jessie Stevens.
And I'm Amelia Lester.
And friends, today, little girls everywhere got a reminder on blast that no matter what greatness you achieve in your life, nothing will be more celebrated than the moment a man chooses you.
Oh, Holly, come on.
Oh, is that not? It's not the vibe.
It's not the vibe.
Not the
You've
vibe.
mismooded everything.
Sorry, let me try that again.
Okay.
Squeeze! Trevor Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are engaged.
Thank
25
you.
exclamation marks.
Yep.
Woot. Of course, we've been up since dawn curating all the hot takes for you. If only infamous Swiftie Mia Freedman was here for this historic moment.
Let's see, I know.
If only. We unpack the shocking news from Canberra about state-sanctioned terrorism in Australia.
And Northwest went out for a lovely dinner with her mother, Kim Kardashian, in Rome. But all anyone can talk about is what North chose to wear and how it's all Kim's fault.
But first, people, Taylor Swift is getting married. It's a love story, and she said yes, etc., etc. Oh my
okay.
God!
We thought this might happen.
I thought we'd got rid of you.
Do you think that
miss me?
that might be Taylor Swift's wedding dress? What you're wearing? Because it's a bit
I wore this to her concert, and I actually thought that this was like an NFL jersey. Apparently, it's baseball.
I think
No,
it's hockey.
I think it's ice hockey. Yeah. Some kind of hockey-ish thing.
Ladies and the very few gentlemen, one Mia Freedman.
Hello.
As if she was going to sit this
Who
one
let
out.
you in? You didn't even knock.
Happy Taylor Engagement Day for those who celebrate, which is you and me pretty much.
How'd she feel?
Not really me. This morning at 3
I feel so high
a.m.
school.
This morning at 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, an Instagram post appeared on the accounts of both Taylor Swift and someone called Killer Trav. The imagery is peak flower arch, and amid the blooms stands Taylor Swift with American football's tightest end, Travis Kelce, kneeling before her, as he should, with 4 other gorgeously smiling kissy pictures to follow, and the caption that simply reads, what does it read, Mia? Your English teacher and your gym teacher are getting married. Stick of dynamite. And the world imploded. Go.
Mia, how do you feel today?
I feel good. I'm not surprised. I knew this was happening. I think it is a good thing. I always thought they were endgame.
Really?
I did. Yeah. I think they are so perfectly suited, and if there was ever any doubt, I think it was very much locked and loaded when they formally rolled out their, I don't want to say brand because that sounds cynical. They rolled out themselves as a couple on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, on the Kelce Brothers podcast. And I looked at it and I just thought, oh, they are so perfect.
And what did you think of the actual announcement? She appears to be in a forest. I mean, it is in August, which is allegedly a song. Is that a song?
Does anyone know what the stick of dynamite
Yeah,
is?
I want to talk emoji
Okay,
choice.
I need to know.
I know what it means.
Oh, good.
TNT, Travis
Oh,
and
it does too.
Taylor.
Yeah. Travis and Taylor.
Yeah. Give us an analysis of they're in the flowers.
Yeah. So the thing to understand, I have a friend who is a Swiftie who has never liked Travis for Taylor and has always thought that he was too basic, too much of a buff head. Mm-hmm. The thing about Travis, and the reason that I think he's so perfect for her on so many levels, the most important thing is how much they've got in common. I mean, as he said on the podcast, they're both stadium entertainers. Now, who else in the world can really understand what that's like? A few people, not many people.
We've played at a place with some
I don't think we can call any of those places stadiums.
So they're both incredibly successful and competitive in their own fields. They're not in the same field, which is interesting. They're both, and she's obviously on a whole other level, but family is incredibly important to both of them.
That's clear.
And they're both daggy, and I say that with the greatest respect and affection because Taylor has always been a bit cringe and cheese, and she's owned that. Like, that's part of her charm.
I always remember after what we believe to be their first date, or their first public date, because their first date may have been before that, when she went to see him play football. He took her for a ride afterwards in his convertible. Do you remember this detail? And on the roof of the convertible, it has the stars because he wanted a reminder to always reach for them. Now, if that's not more Taylor-coded, I don't know what is.
They're both very earnest in their way, but also very goofy. Like, she's always really embraced the daggy dancing. She's not Madonna. She's not Beyonce. She's not incredibly slick. She's very relatable, and so is he.
Do you think that, because today, as everybody's losing their minds, there's lots of narrative that I have a problem with, but we'll get to that later, that we've seen her through all these relationships that weren't right and this is the right one. Do you think that the tortured poets, all that stuff, all those bad boys she was dating, all the ones who wanted to go under the radar, all that, do you think she was pretending, or do you think she's evolved into this version of herself? I don't mean pretending for the audience. I mean, you know how sometimes you bury bits of yourself in relationships. So what you're saying is they're perfect for each other because they meet each other, and ambition and cheese and all American dagginess. Do you think that's who she's always been, but she was trying to convince herself, oh, no, I'm like a tortured, I'm more Maddie Healy, I'm more
that's
Jake
so
Gyllenhaal.
interesting. I think that we all visit different versions of ourselves depending on, I don't know if guys do this, but I know I did it, depending on who I've dated. And I think that she has, the most important thing about Travis is that for the first time since I've known her,
since we've known
she hasn't had to dim her light. Because she hasn't had to worry about emasculating a man. And I completely understand, Joe Alwyn, which was a really formative relationship for her, and certainly thank you, Joe, for some amazing music. Even to Jake Gyllenhaal, Harry Styles, all of those. We got John Mayer. We got some great music. Did she date John Mayer? Did I mention that? Yeah. We got some great music. Travis, because she's happy, so high school's probably not Taylor's best, but I'm as someone who thinks she's an amazing artist. But she's also just a person. She's also just a woman who's, 37?
35.
35.
She's around my age. There are some concerns in the office by the single gals that they're going, I don't want an album about a joint mortgage. I don't want an album about, but little petty fights. Hasn't her best music been during those tumultuous years? But I think that 2008 Love Story came out, which was for the basic among us. That was kind of when Taylor Swift burst onto the scene. That was the year that I graduated high school. It was everywhere. It was Romeo and Juliet. It was her coming out just basically professing her position as a hopeless romantic, which kind of wasn't the vibe then. And she was a very earnest millennial figure, right? And so to watch her now 17 years later, having finally it feels like there's this arc or this plot that's very, I don't know, I feel like we have been rooting for her, and she had these really low moments with the awful Jake Gyllenhaal.
You're upsetting me.
Jessie, what I think you're saying here, which is something that I've been feeling today, for millennials, this is the end of an arc. It's the end of an era. Yeah. And I know that Holly will tell us that the happy ending is the whole rest of your life and that's a work in progress. But for millennials in particular, it does feel like this is the moment that we see the culmination of our youth.
And we all know the feeling of watching a friend who has dated total duds and has had really difficult moments finding their person. And I will...
Why are you upset, Holly?
I just think that's a lovely thing.
Why are you raining on Taylor's parade?
I don't want to rain on her parade. I'm very happy for her. But I want to say to all the single girls crying in their lattes this morning, and there are some in this office who are like, fuck, another fucking happy couple. Like, here we go. This isn't the ending of anything. Weddings and engagements are not the endings of anything. There's no happy ending. Oh, it's done now. All done. Dusting our hands. Ask anyone who's been married for more than 5 minutes if the wedding and the marriage is the end. There is a lot to go. Taylor's got a lot of life left to live. We all know people whose marriages didn't work out. So let's not get too caught up in the happy ending of it all.
That's romantic. She's also
that's what I'm here for, Mia.
Not someone who's ever been like, I need a man to complete me. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong.
Isn't every single one of her songs about that?
No. She's, I think that looking for great love is not retro or something to be embarrassed about or ashamed about, but it doesn't have to define you. Like, she's been very clear that she's pretty complete on her own, and she's got goals to kick, and she's kicked all of the ones that you can think of, and she continues to kick more.
And what she always wanted, like even from that 2008 thing, which I don't relate with but I respect, is a loud love. She wanted someone who professed their love for her, and Travis is loud love.
Yeah, but Mia, I do have to say that her greatest music has been about looking for love. Are you worried that her music now is going to suffer with happiness?
No, because what we saw with Folklore and Evermore, she and she said she's going to do this again, not with Life of a Showgirl, because that's about behind the scenes of when she was doing the Eras tour. But she said with those two albums, she really enjoyed writing songs from the perspective of characters. And that was the first time she'd done that because, you know, before that she'd always mined her life and often her love life. But some of her greatest songs are about being betrayed in business, you know, as well, and being betrayed. You know, the whole Reputation album was extraordinary, and that wasn't about love. That was about being cancelled.
Can I ask you, Mia, as our resident, you know, obviously Swiftie, but also PR expert?
Oh, Tree Paine. Big day for Tree Paine.
One of the things that marks this relationship very much, as we've already touched on, is how public it is. It's very public, this relationship. And this engagement announcement is very public. The way that it was said, it was for the fans, like the English teacher and the gym teacher. It's gorgeous, but it's for the fans, right? What's the wedding going to be like? I am obsessed now.
Wow.
Because
we're all invited.
This is a royal wedding. This is America's royal wedding. And I am now obsessed that maybe they should lean into that. And down the streets of Kansas City, we should have an open-topped rainbow carriage pulled by unicorns, and all the girls and the gays can be out applauding it. That would be brilliant. Donald Trump has made a statement.
Holly, Kansas City does not look the way you think it does. I have to
does,
warn
and that's
you.
why I think it would be good.
A lot of fans are saying, I'll buy tickets. They went to the Eras tour. This is their Eras tour. They'll watch.
So-
Will they get married at the Super Bowl?
Is it possible to have a private wedding if you're the most famous woman in the world?
I think so, because when Taylor Swift wants to disappear, she disappears. She knows how to disappear. She's disappeared for years at a time. So I think that sharing this with the world is lovely, and it's in large part a service to her fans who are very, very invested. But she has always done things on her terms. And I think that I don't think we should be worried about her. I must say, part of me was like, oh, I wish she'd have kept this private. But then I'm like, why? Like, for the first time she's with someone who's not emasculated or like, oh, we mustn't be seen together on a red carpet. We mustn't be seen in public. Like, for 6 or 7 years with Joe Alvin, she had to hide. She had to, like, sneak in and out of cars. And, like, how would that make you feel?
There's a theory, which I think you'll really like, that the announcement was a homage to Tree Paine because she was surrounded by trees.
Trees.
Yeah.
See, I love that. I think about your proposal, Jessie, because I had a friend who's like, he was wearing shorts and loafers with no socks and ooh and yuck. And I was like, you know, what your betrothed was wearing when he proposed to you, what you were wearing. Like, none of that matters.
Not at all.
No.
None of it matters.
No.
And there was something really daggy about it in the most over-the-top way, of course, which I absolutely loved, which made it feel very real to me.
Is there a world in which, you know how you said Taylor does everything on her terms, and we all know that she loves to trick us, send a misdirect, queen of the misdirection. When I was just saying, is it possible for the most famous woman in the world to have a private wedding because they've just put the entire world on Wedding Watch? Is it possible that they're already married?
No, but I do think this happened a couple of weeks ago. Like, I think that there's been time. I don't think it happened yesterday. And
there were hints over the weekend, quotes from Travis Kelce's parents that suggested they knew.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, just like with your proposal, there were people around them that were clued in, and I'm sure Tree knew before Taylor.
Theory among just the Out Loud team is that Travis Kelce did ask Tree Paine.
Oh, 100%.
For Taylor's hand
before
in marriage.
Scott, her father, he would have had to go
100%.
and ask Tree. And fair enough.
One more tidbit I need to share.
Please.
Blake Lively has not, at the time of recording, liked the post.
I'm very upset about this.
And what does that tell us?
No.
I just think she's not going to be the maid of honour.
I think it's messy. I think that we all have friendships that we've left behind for various reasons, usually not as high profile as lawsuits and things like that. But we all do. And it's kind of bittersweet when someone that you were super close to has this life milestone, whether it's a happy one like this or a sad one like losing a parent. You sort of feel like you should reach out. Just because she didn't like it on Instagram does not mean she didn't necessarily text, but I think probably her number is blocked. I think Tree would have seen to that.
I have one more thing to say about the announcement. Killer Trav. So the first thing I thought, I woke up, I checked Instagram because that's how it goes, and I saw Killer Trav and I went, I don't follow Killer Trav. Who the hell is that? Like, she can't marry Killer Trav. He has to change his Instagram handle, and then maybe she will follow him because she still doesn't follow him on Instagram. Change it to Travis Kelce. It just screams he made it when he was 12, didn't realise he'd become
We've
so
all been
famous.
there.
Now he's marrying Taylor Swift and he is Killer Trav on Instagram. I'm horrified.
Over to a different kind of royalty. I have generously been given 1 whole minute. This is very troubling for me to bring you up to speed on what's been happening in princess business this week.
Okay.
Which, to be honest, since this week, one of my tailors, Meghan Markle, launched a new show and did a whole big long-form interview. This is very cruel, but I understand. We've been usurped by the real royalty. So here's my quick rundown of what's been happening in princess business this week. Season 2, as ever, with Love Meghan. Why isn't it called the same thing?
It's bad for brand.
Has dropped. And what's weird about it, considering that season 1 we had to sit through lots of people we'd never met before making candles, is that this season it's got cred, right? Episode 1 has got David Chang on it. Now, you might not know who he is, Jessie, because you don't like food, but he is a big deal. He's the Momofuku guy. He is a big deal, right?
Is he the one who makes the lobster? I've seen a clip.
Oh, no.
All right.
Episode 2 has Chrissy Teigen, and episode 8 with the lobster, that's Jose Andres. He is massively famous, and he's the founder of World Central Kitchen. Like, he is a massive deal. So why did she keep all the good people for the second season? I am very confused about that. Same day, Meg sits down for a long-form interview with Bloomberg's Emily Chang in a bookstore. Presumably, this is where she chose to be interviewed, in a bookstore. You like books, says Emily Chang, looking around. What are you reading right now? Reading, says Meghan. Oh, I read to my kids. I read self-help. But mostly, Emily, she says this.
And then my late night indulgence now is just a lot of Duolingo. Do you ever do that? Oh, it's great.
When I can find the time, what are you Duolingoing?
I'm Duolingoing French.
Yeah.
I committed to relearning it.
Oh
and
my
so,
goodness,
yeah.
I'd love to do that.
It's really fun.
Me too, Megs. Me too. As you know, I'm massively into my Duolingo. We are basically the same person. Meanwhile, over in that place that Meghan's not allowed to go to anymore, Princess Catherine got the world momentarily obsessed with the fact that she had dyed her hair blonde. Now, I can't really explain to you how I know, deep in my soul, she did not dye her hair blonde. Like, Princess Catherine is no more allowed to dye her hair blonde than she is to pick her undies out of her bum in public.
But I saw those pictures of her in the limousine or something, and they think that it's blonde. Is it just light? The lighting?
It's a pat picture, right, through a car window that looks like she's gone proper blonde. But a strategic leak has already been placed with the Daily Mail that says this is just yacht hair.
Yacht hair, wow.
She has spent the summer in Greece.
Can't relate.
And she's slowly been lightening her brown from chestnut to more caramelly, and there's just a bit of summer sun on it. And that is worth 1,000 headlines. Did I do well on my princess update? Are you updated? Are you interested?
Well. You missed the part where I saw that Meghan got gifted by Harry a big portrait. Have you seen this?
Yeah.
Yeah, on her Instagram today, a big black and white portrait of her laying in a field with her dog. I think it might be her late dog.
Her dead dog.
I'm going to add one more thing too. You missed something else. We learned from the season 2 of this TV show that for Harry's 40th birthday, Meghan had hats printed that said PH40 for his friends to wear. I just want to emphasize to you that means that they ask their friends to call him Prince Harry.
Prince Harry. Look, if this was a different day, if Taylor Swift had not made her announcement, we would be talking for hours and you would be under sufferance at me talking about all of the Easter eggs in As Ever with Love Meghan. So just count yourself lucky that we're not doing that today.
No one's watching that season, Holly Wainwright. No one.
So yesterday we had some shocking and pretty surprising news from Canberra. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese stood in the courtyard at Parliament House and he pinned last year's anti-Semitic attacks that happened in Melbourne and in Sydney on a foreign power, and that foreign power is Iran. The revelation hinges on intelligence from Australia's spy agencies, and the way that you know this is a big deal is when the head of ASIO, the super secret spy agency, actually comes out to talk to the press, and that happened yesterday. His name is Mike Burgess. He explained that the December attack on a Melbourne synagogue and the October attack on Sydney's Lewis Continental Kitchen were ordered by Iran. So he stressed that Iran themselves, Iranian diplomats, didn't conduct these attacks. They likely engaged a third-party criminal organization to do them for them. And so I also want to mention that Iran denies the allegations. Iran's foreign minister has said that there are dozens of synagogues in Iran, and it made zero sense for Iran to attack these sites in Australia. But I do have to say that these allegations are so extraordinary, so unusual, so out of left field that Albanese and the Australian intelligence authorities had to have been absolutely certain in what they said yesterday. There would be no doubt when they announced this. So let's hear what Albanese did have to say.
These were extraordinary and dangerous acts of aggression orchestrated by a foreign nation on Australian soil. They were attempts to undermine social cohesion and sow discord in our community. It is totally unacceptable, and the Australian government is taking strong and decisive action in response.
So in response, what has Albanese done? He has expelled Iran's ambassador to Australia. That hasn't happened since World War II. And 3 other Iranian diplomats were photographed late last night in a car fleeing the country. There's so much that we still don't know about this story. There's so many questions about it. But one unexpected development to come out of it is that Iran and Israel, who are sworn enemies, now agree on one thing. And that one thing is they do not like Australia. Last week, Albanese was sparring with Benjamin Netanyahu, who's Israel's prime minister. And now Iran's foreign minister posted on X overnight that Netanyahu is right about one thing. Australia's prime minister is indeed a weak politician.
I bet that Albanese is wishing he could change the subject. I have one question. Why Australia? Like, why would Iran use Australia as a particular target for this?
It's such a good question, and I don't think we know the answer. So Iran has been linked to terror plots in other countries, in the US, Denmark, Belgium, Albania, but the last big report on that activity came before October 7. And as far as we know, as far as I know, there hasn't been a direct specific link made of this kind to terrorist activity in the West since then.
Australia has the 7th largest Jewish population in the world. So, I mean, it's significant, but it's not the largest, and that's obviously outside of Israel. But reading all of this and reading the details of, the text messages and stuff they've got from the planning, what's remarkable and so lucky is that no one was hurt. There was someone hurt, actually. There was someone injured during the arson attack. And, of course, they're saying that they think a few of the other targeted attacks on Jewish businesses and stuff were Iran was behind that. And this is a story that's progressing. We are going to find out a lot more. But the fact that no one was hurt is pretty incredible.
Is that, just to use real layman's terms, and please correct me, Amelia, but is that because, not the lack of casualties, but is that because when you say they didn't carry out these incidents, but they're literally organising and paying petty criminals or organised gangs.
They don't seem to have any really
no deep affiliation, but they're to do this for them.
Yeah.
And then how effective they are is kind of beyond Iran's control. But what it certainly succeeds in doing is destabilising everything.
Yeah, the funny thing is that Australia, by some measures, has fallen behind other Western nations in sanctioning Iran. So quick bringing you up to speed on many, many years of Iranian history is that it has been ruled by this extremist religious regime since 1979, since its revolution. And lots of Western countries have taken steps to sanction and to punish that extremist religious regime in various ways. Australia has really been behind the rest of the pack in terms of doing that. So Albanese just said that he's going to sanction the Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps. They're kind of like the secret religious police there. But for instance, the US and lots of other Western countries had already said that group was a terrorist organization. So it's almost like by doing this, Iran's kind of goading Australia into coming up to speed with the rest of the West in sanctioning them. It's very odd.
And what it did achieve was, I think, its goal of terrorizing the Jewish community. Like it said, it's horrific. There are just to know that these attacks were so targeted and by a foreign power, I think is terrifying, and it did compromise it continues to compromise social cohesion. There's an incredible article by Kylie Moore-Gilbert in the Sydney Morning Herald and The Age where she writes about she was imprisoned in Iran. She's an Australian academic. And she says in 2020, she was being interrogated by the Revolutionary Guard Corps, and they presented her with paper with the names and addresses of multiple synagogues in Melbourne and wanted information. So what she's trying to say is that her, along with lots of members of the Iranian diaspora, have been saying for a long time, these are really dangerous people, basically call them a terrorist organisation. And now Australia has come to the table and kind of acknowledged just how dangerous they are. This operation as well has been so interesting because what Australia needed to do was get their diplomats out of Iran before they did any of this to keep everyone safe. So, yeah, we are just going to learn a lot more about this in the coming weeks and months. This week, North West and her mother, Kim Kardashian, were spotted in Rome, having no doubt a very lovely meal. Paparazzi pictures began to circulate, which North has been experiencing her whole life, but this time the commentary was very different. For context, North is 12. She is the eldest of Kim and Kanye's 4 kids. Kim and Kanye are divorced. And she was wearing a black corset, a short skirt, and chunky black boots. And the internet swiftly decided that this was not appropriate attire for a child. The thing about 12-year-old girls, as someone who was once a very awkward 12-year-old girl knows, is that some still look like kids and others have begun to change, and you have no control over that. West, and I hate to even say this, but unfortunately it's important context, she falls into the latter category. So she might look different in a corset to how another 12-year-old may look in a corset. Comments started flooding in about how inappropriate North's outfit was, reminding Kim that her daughter was only 12, which I'm sure she had forgotten. One comment read, "Not a fan of a bustier on a 12-year-old." Another said, "It's Kim's job to preserve her daughter's innocence." And another said, "Why does North look 32? Then there were others who argued it's literally not up to Kim to shield her children from weirdos. It's up to the general public to not be weird. Look, there are a lot of places to go with this story, but I'll tell you why these pictures captured my attention yesterday. I was a young teen with boobs that I did not want, and I didn't know how to dress. I knew that me wearing a white singlet wasn't read the same as the girl next to me wearing a white singlet.
Or the way that it was read last year when you were wearing a white singlet.
Exactly. And I can see now in hindsight how much my mum must have struggled to not say anything. And I remember fighting with her to buy a stunning brown singlet. It was a crop top with white writing across the chest. It said "Naughty Gal." It was from Supre. And I suppose my question here is, what is the role of parents? And let's be real, it is always considered the domain of mothers to police their daughters' bodies. Holly.
I'm going to try really hard not to get all high-pitched and screechy about this because it is an absolute pufferfish for me. I have had so many arguments about this in general with people in my life. I wrote a freaking book about it largely. There is nothing that irritates me more than people screaming, "Stop sexualizing young girls," while they are sexualizing the young girls themselves by deciding that once their body has changed, it is no longer appropriate for them to wear certain things, right? It is so confusing for young kids, as you have already expressed, Jessie, that there's this weird liminal time where, last summer it was fine for you to run around in a bikini and no one was bothered. And this summer everybody's like, "Oh, could you cover up?" Oh, and you can read it. Like, kids are not stupid. They're incredibly sensitive to shame in particular. And they can pick it up all around them that suddenly something that has happened to them that has nothing to do with them, it wasn't in their control, it wasn't their choice, has changed everything. And suddenly their body, in clothes, in a bikini, in jeans, in a crop top, in a corset, is a dangerous thing that needs to now be treated very differently. And I just find it so infuriating that women in particular buy into this and pile on to moments like this Northwest. Because the thing about Northwest, obviously she's not an ordinary 12-year-old. Of course she's not. But I've lived through this, right? And I have a 15-year-old daughter and I'm around a lot of kids, girls of those ages. Walk into a Brandy Melville, walk into a Supre, walk into any shop and you will see young girls who are ordinary in terms of, their background, their whatever, who want to dress this way. Corsets, crop tops, tight little shirts with big baggy jeans or little rah-rah skirts are what a lot of girls this age want to wear. The only difference with what Northwest is doing is that hers have designer labels on them and hers get photographed by the entire world and sent around for everybody to pick at and judge.
That is not the only difference between them.
It is.
Her
in this
mother
instance, it is
Kim Kardashian.
Yes.
We cannot discuss this in isolation. Kim Kardashian, now I'm not making any kind of comment on her as a mother. She's going through a lot with a very, very difficult ex-husband and who is also dealing with mental health challenges. So I'm setting that aside and saying that Kim Kardashian from a very early age was sexualized by her own mother. And you're acting like that's not context
because
that
I don't
we need
believe
to bring
that,
in
because
here?
I really don't believe that Northwest is being sexualized. That is my thing, is that I don't want to get personal either about myself or anybody else in this, but it's very easy in all areas of parenting before you've got there to go like, I would never. I would never let my daughter wear.
My favorite pastime is talking about parenting stages I'm yet to reach and the various rules that I will impose at that stage. Just like when I was pregnant, I said I would never use screens. Screens are awful.
Have you met a tween? Have you met a particularly precocious tween? Have you tried to make them do things they don't want to do and wear things they don't want to wear?
I don't think it's fair to say that what I'm doing is parent shaming. I'm saying that there is context here that her mother's rise to fame came from, and I'm not going to sugarcoat this, a sex tape that some people believe, that is credibly believed, her mother had a hand in releasing.
Well, it's kind of an empire built on sexualization, isn't it? Is that your point?
I think that's fair to say.
So you genuinely think that the reason Northwest is wearing that corset has nothing to do with what 12-year-old girls are wearing in the suburbs of Sydney?
Holly,
and has everything to do
what have we
with
learned on this podcast about the fact that two things can be true?
I reject it. I thoroughly reject it.
Okay. I reckon that there are two things going on, right? Because on the one hand, I think we are in a moment of like cultural reckoning of giving children any sort of public platform. And North challenges that for a lot of people. North, as a 12-year-old, is all over TikTok. North has been put on a song by her father, who in March, by the way, came out and basically went, I'm so uncomfortable that my daughters are wearing perfume and the clothes that they're wearing and they're wearing lipstick and blah, blah, blah. My pufferfish is men who are not involved in parenting sitting on the sidelines criticizing the mother. That's my pufferfish. But my point about that is that I think that there is a growing discomfort about having young kids in the spotlight. And Kanye just recently put Northwest on a song with convicted sex felon P. Diddy.
Exactly.
Right? So there's a big discussion that I think it's probably playing into that a little bit, which is who is protecting Northwest?
But this is the thing is I don't think that is what anyone in the comment section is worried about, because I think that what you think of Kim and Kanye's parenting choices is one thing, right? And I entirely agree with you about whether or not it's in any way healthy for a 12-year-old to have the kind of attention and platform that Northwest does. We are talking specifically here about clothes. And the reason that it is a pufferfish and a trigger is because that is something we all relate to. It is, I know you're not there yet, but this is something that will suddenly happen where your daughter, as I say, is wearing something that was fine for her to wear 6 months ago, but suddenly they're like, how could you let your daughter wear that?
Okay.
And so what's the conversation you're going to have with her?
I have an example. I don't want to make this about our parenting choices, so I'm going to try and step back and talk in more general terms about how I felt recently when I saw a picture that made me uncomfortable. I love the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders, and I love the Netflix documentary about them, which just finished its second season. Highly recommend if you have not watched it. And because I'm now a super fan, I follow everything they do. They had a summer camp and they invited 6-year-olds to come along and learn how to cheerlead with them, which is great because it is an athletic endeavor that involves a lot of artistry, and I applaud that. There were 6-year-olds on the field wearing modified Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders outfits, and they were modified in the sense that the cheerleaders wear very, I think it's safe to say, skimpy outfits. They have little extreme crop tops with a bow over the cleavage, and these 6-year-olds were wearing T-shirts printed with that bow and with the little bedazzled jacket that they wear on top of it. And I'd be lying if I said I wasn't made uncomfortable by that. Now, does that mean that I am sexualizing the 6-year-olds? Maybe it is my problem, but I felt uncomfortable.
I think there is a world of difference between a commercialized, systematic kind of, this is what the young girls who dance have to look like. It's one of the reasons why I genuinely was uncomfortable about my daughter ever doing dancing, is because there's no choice there. It's like from 6, lipstick, hair, foundation.
You just described it as a commercialized, systematic operation. Well, that is the Kardashians, Holly. They have always blurred the boundaries.
I agree with you about those pictures of Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders made me really uncomfortable, right? But my argument about why Northwest is being shamed for wearing a corset is, to me, a completely separate issue.
Well, the irony of the corset, and in fact the irony of the 6-year-olds with the cheerleading as well, is that they're just imitating what the older women in their lives are doing. So if you look at the picture of Kim and North is just dressed like Kim. And it's like, how do you explain to a 12-year-old that their body is more sexualized than the body of an adult woman, that you will never be as sexualized as the moment you have curves?
I just wanted to bring to you both something that I've been thinking about a lot lately about clothing. I love buying secondhand clothes, and I especially love calling them vintage because it makes it sound more fancy. In fact, I'm wearing a great top I got at Vinnie's today, and you told me that you got yours.
I think it was Depop, or it could have been like a Red Cross store.
Well,
I'm
either
wondering
way,
if it could have.
You look like Sienna Miller, and I love it. Yeah. But the one thing that really trips me up in buying secondhand, and even in extending the lifespan of my existing clothes, is stains. Because you get a stain and then you think, I don't really want to wear that anymore. You get self-conscious. You think, I've got to take it to the dry cleaner. It goes in a pile of clothes for the dry cleaner, which of course never actually leaves your sofa or the chair in your bedroom that you have designated for the dry cleaner. So there's this real stigma around clothing stains. I think that's safe to say. And there's a Substacker called Isabel Sloan who wrote recently that we all just need to get over the stain problem.
Couldn't agree more.
She wrote a piece called On Loving My Clothes with Stains and Holes, and she talks about trying to actively shift her mindset when it comes to imperfections in her clothing. She says a stain can end the life cycle of a clothing item just too early. Like, you might still love it. I think about the fact that I used to love wearing silk shirts to work, and then I realized that they all had awful yellow stains underneath them, and then I just never wore them again.
I struggle with silk and sweating. I find that my sweat, I'm like, is my sweat different? Because I feel like I ruin the issue is I don't know how to wash silk, which is a whole other thing.
No one does. I think you're meant to gently agitate, but who has time for gentle agitation?
Agitating is very complex.
And think about all those little silkworms who work so hard for these things, and then we're just discarding them. So here's a proposal. What if we decide that stains are character, that they're kind of cool? And look, we do this with other items. Think about the Birkin bag, the famous Hermes Birkin bag. They retail for tens of thousands of dollars. And it's named after this French style icon named Jane Birkin. And the whole point of how she used her bags is that she scuffed them, she wore them to the ground, she put stickers on them, she stuffed baguettes in them. And Kate Moss, who's another style icon, was just recently seen on the beach with her Birkin. She took an $18,000 bag to the beach and put her beach towel in it. So
that's a status symbol though, right? Though that's kind of like saying, I know this bag is really expensive, but to me, it's just like the green bag, from the supermarket.
Or you could say it's very sustainable of them. So I want to say, let's stop being precious about the stains. Let's stop. Do we judge people who have stains? No. So let's accept that we can just wear the stains and they're a sign of character and they're a sign of age. What do you think?
Antique furniture. Like, that has little stains on it, and that's absolutely fine. I wear stains all the time because my theory is no one's looking at you. No one notices. The things that you notice, they don't. And interestingly, you can't donate. I went really deep on what you can and can't donate recently. You can't donate a piece of clothing with a stain on it, which is why so much of it ends up in landfill, and really good quality stuff, which, again, they think is related to people don't know how to wash their clothes anymore. Like the skills of our grandmothers who could get a stain out of anything, which, was
always baking soda involved.
Oh, like vinegar? Always. I don't know. They would do something and get the stain out.
Is balsamic okay?
There are a lot of influencers who are obsessed with that stuff.
I think we need to go back to learning how to wash our clothes, but also rock the stain. Mia Freedman would say, put a brooch over it.
I want to know, how many years is acceptable to have a piece of clothing or something like that. I put a thing in the Out Louders Facebook group on the weekend about towels on a similar vein, right? Is that I wrote that because I wanted some tips and I knew the Out Louders would help me out about where to buy a job lot of new towels, because I suddenly looked at the towels in my bathroom and realised that they were all quite ratty and that some of them, quite a lot of them, were older than my children. And when
That's all right.
well,
isn't
this
it?
is the thing, but they were tatty.
Okay.
And some of them, they lose their thing. Anyway, so the Out Louders were full of really great ideas. They were like, go and buy them from Kmart. They're really good and fluffy, blah, 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 blah. But several of them said, let's normalise having towels older than our children.
Yeah. No, and I feel the same about tea towels. I have had tea towels for a very long time with holes in them, burns on them, and I'm like, it shows all the years I've been slogging away cooking, which is not what's happened.
Let's embrace character.
I love it.
And coffee stains.
That is all we have time for today, Out Louders. What a big day. Thank you so much for listening to our show, and thank you to our wonderful team for putting it together.
Bye.
Bye.